Hey, it's Rachel Cooke, your modern mentor. I'm the founder of Lead Above Noise, where we help leaders activate performance without burning out their teams or themselves. If your team could use a boost of inspiration and action, I'd love to support you with a workshop or a program or a keynote. You can find out more about me and my work at leadabovenoise.com. So we're back with the fourth in our 4-part summer short interview series. And today's guest is Jaime Klein. Jaime is the founder and CEO of Inspire HR, which is the HR leader's go-to partner for interim senior experts on strategy and execution. And in this quick hit conversation, we talk about some of the workplace trends that Jaime's seeing these days. We cover AI, return to office, and what's happening with DEI, and more. So enjoy this conversation with Jaime Klein. So Jaime Klein, founder and CEO of Inspire HR. Welcome to the Modern Mentor Podcast. Thank you for being with me today.
Oh my gosh, Rachel, thank you so much for asking me to join.
It's my pleasure. So you and I have known each other now for quite a long time. We crossed paths back in the day when I was still working full time and you were doing this crazy to me independent thing. And you were one of those women who really helped pave the path for me. And so thank you. You have been doing this now. So you run Inspire HR and you have been doing this for, I want to say 19 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is our 19th, which is crazy because I'm still 28. So I'm not sure how that math works out.
It was amazing when in 5th grade you started up. We were also impressed. So why I wanted to talk to you today, Jaime, besides just adoring and respecting you generally, is so you run this organization where you yourself and the amazing swath of experts that you have on staff are going into lots of different organizations these days and working in the realm of HR, whether it is project-based, engagement-based, whether you're covering somebody's leave. But the point being, you are just inside of so many different companies and you're seeing things and you're hearing things and the workplace feels like the absolute Wild West these days. And so I wanted to pick your brain just about what you're seeing and what you're hearing and what's really capturing your and your experts' attention these days.
Sure. And again, thank you for having me. And I'm flattered by what you said. I've been a Rachel super fan for a long time. So happy to be here. And I love your firm as well. So what we're seeing is, it's so interesting. It's pretty consistent no matter size of organization, zip code, industry. You bring a bunch of people together and the same stuff goes down. I think folks are pretty AI obsessed at this moment. And it feels akin to when the internet first started. And, you would see some companies say, oh, we're going to have our customers continue to go to our really thick phone book size catalog rather than going on and kind of looking at our inventory online. And some people were earlier adopters. It feels a little bit like that. I've heard countless people say AI is not going to take our jobs, but the people who really are agile with AI will take our jobs. So I am seeing a trend across HR where everyone is curious. I think that there is a spectrum of kind of early adopters to folks that have fully implemented it. So, for example, Pfizer, I think that they have co-CEOs and we run these monthly HR salons. And we were recently talking about companies that are quite extraordinary. And someone relayed that at Pfizer, it's kind of embedded, the use of AI is kind of embedded in goals at a company level. And therefore, of course, it trickles down to the point of where they've had prompt-a-thons, really helping employees understand how to come up with the best prompts. Because what I've heard from countless authors, thought leaders, is that less important that you have the answer is more important that you ask the right question, because we'll all be able to get the answers. It's how you prompt. And so how you ask the question. So a lot of organizations are doing things to look at the entire employee experience and really challenge their HR team to think, how do we automate, create efficiencies, get rid of joyless work? And a hack that I heard recently is when you are talking to ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, whoever it is, to ask, what other questions should I be asking you to get the most thorough answer? I thought that was really smart. And we've seen organizations do everything from utilize AI in the applicant analysis system. I think most candidates these days, they really look at the job description and then they attach their resume and say, please update my resume to most beautifully meet the moment of what this job is looking for. So I think recruiters assume that people have kind of had their resume a little bit zhuzhed up. But what people are really using AI effectively for is to screen those resumes and really understand who has had, the basic, like successive promotions, is always coming into more senior roles, shows innovation. So teaching AI to do that. Recently, we were told that one of our clients had it set up that for the first round of interview, you get on with, and the candidate knows in advance, it's just a screen, and AI asks a number of questions, and the candidate answers. So you don't have to get all, gussied up and put on, a fancy outfit, because you know that you will just be talking to a machine. But companies are using it, I would say, most heavily in the TA space, because it's such a high touch, heavy volume. You need an army of people to find the right candidate and schedule interviews. So there's lots of hacks there. So we're seeing the most use in TA. We're also seeing it used in other parts of the employee life cycle, such as succession planning. So kind of what used to take data analysts, weeks, now in minutes, AI can take all this disparate information and really aggregate it, whether it's in the form of PowerPoint or PDF or performance reviews, and look at it to look through top candidates. I could go on, but by another example is kind of all the verbatims through employee surveys and all the things that people write, that sentiment, kind of AI aggregating all of those themes. And of course, this is to all be password protected to protect the company's IP, but clearly everyone is exploring where they can automate and have a high impact across the employee experience. Yeah.
That's fascinating. I can't even count the number of different things that I just heard you touch on in there as far as where AI is showing up, how organizations are using it. It sounds like they're using it at kind of macro levels to do data analysis, but they're doing it in ways to create higher touch experience with their employees. But then it also sounds like they want their employees to be upskilling themselves in terms of prompting and questioning. And so it's kind of touching at every level.
Yeah. For folks who are wanting others to kind of dive into the pool and kind of make all the mistakes and kind of teach them, but companies who are just kind of dipping their foot in the pool, what we always say to those organizations is ask your employees to even try doing something personal, like, help me plan the perfect place for a picnic. Here's my zip code. What do you recommend? Or I have to plan a birthday party for a loved one. What are some creative ideas? Just, I'm planning a vacation to go to the beach this summer. What are some great spots in the Jersey Shore? I want to go to Sonoma. What are the great vineyards? Whatever it is, because then it's self-motivated and folks see the user friendliness of it. And so that is kind of a quick way to get folks excited and interested and more comfortable. But a lot of organizations we know, they are telling their employees, paste most draft emails into AI and just hit polish, and it will come up with more succinct, appropriate language. Then you can say, do you want it more business-like? Do you want it to be more casual? And it can judge it either way. But yeah, it's here to stay.
That's really interesting. And what about are you still coming across organizations that are fearful of AI, that aren't yet giving them their access? And what's your hot take there?
Yeah. So I totally appreciate it. Totally appreciate everyone's at their own point on the journey. And I think that the organizations that are the most fearful are so because of the concern of data breaches. So, just the notion that you could put all your IP out there, even if it's password protected, and, 2 years, 5 years, 7 years from now, who knows what's ahead, that information could be there. And I think it is founded, right? You need to just make sure that your tech team is very much staying up to date on all the things that can be done to make the organization more confident in using AI. And, you think of any other type of massive change in work or on the home front where we've had this type of transformation, there are always going to be those organizations that want to wait and see others kind of make the mistakes, lessons learned, so that they can kind of dive in. But Erica Keswin, who's a future of work leader that I love, she put in a newsletter recently that the jobs that kind of summer interns are doing this summer, most will be able to be done by AI by Christmas, right? Like, this is the pace at which things are working. And so, just really encourage folks to cautiously get on the bus within their comfort zone. Yeah.
I have one more question on the AI front for you. And this is really just kind of your perspective, Jaime, but I hear people, on the one hand, I hear people talking about, the importance of AI, and we have to develop a comfort with it. We have to develop skill and agility with it. On the other hand, I hear people saying things like, I would never use AI in my writing. My work is all original. I would never use AI in, and I feel like people are sort of struggling with this tension between, I know I need to learn it because it's a new technology, but I don't want people to think that I'm not doing original working or thinking. And so how are you seeing people kind of navigate that tension?
Yeah, I've heard multiple authors and marketing folks talk about that. Think of all the, the strikes that have happened with all the late night talk show hosts. They're like, you know what? Without my team, I actually am not as funny.
That's right.
And so there's a lot of concern. It's their IP, it's their craft. So I think that there is validity to that. I think that the art of being able to take the ideas in our beautiful human minds and kind of put them on paper is really a precious skill. And what is my take? My take is that the human will always be able to bring to the writing true empathy, true lived experience that is shared, true. Oh my God, remember that thing that happened to us when we both worked at American Express years ago? I mean, AI will never know that. But I think that there's a magic middle that probably has to be found, because if we were to do this, catch up again in 2028, 29, it would be really interesting to see, if I'm just taking a job, the employee communications teams at organizations are finding a way to integrate AI in some way that I can't even envision sitting here in 25. But as a quick example, you can now attach documents. So let's say that a communications leader comes out of a brainstorming meeting of how to get a town hall ready. And there's disparate pieces of data, right? There's a PDF, there's something written on a piece of paper. You can attach all of those things, and AI can kind of take all the disparate information, come up with a draft to give you a running start, rather than you literally sitting there going through slides and figuring it all out. So I think of it more as, what did our mutual friend Ian O'Keefe from Icona say? He said, it's not an Ivy League intern. It's like having a really eager intern. So someone who's like, I'm full of energy. Let me try it this way. Oh, you want it that way? You want it in bullets? I can do that. And they never get tired.
That is very funny, but that is a very helpful way to think about it. It's like a hungry, ready set of hands.
Yes. And it's not perfect, right? They may get nuance wrong or misunderstand that you actually want this in language that is meant for, an audience that's from Canada, and that joke would fall flat or whatever it is. So I always think of it as a first draft or a running start, but there's an art to creating the first draft.
Yeah, for sure.
That I think is going to be unfolding for all of us during our career and our lifetime. Yeah.
That's awesome, Jaime. And thank you for having that first conversation about AI with me. I have not talked about it on the podcast yet. So tell me what else is on your radar, on your mind?
Oh my goodness. OMG. Everyone's back in the office. For real. So multiple organizations are looking to hire chief people officers, head of HR. And from the jump, they're saying it's 4 days in the office, 1 day virtual. I think that it's harder change management for long-term employees who have been there and had massive flexibility. And then it was 3-2, 2-3, but it's really 4-1. That's a thing. And I was in Midtown Manhattan 2 days ago for coffee. And literally I walked into this coffee shop. It was adorable at 53rd and Lex. Devotion. I'm probably saying it wrong. It has some fancy pronunciation of the word devotion. And literally there were like 14 people in line for coffee. I was like, where did everybody come from? But it was a long line. It was a long line. It was a moment where I realized people are back in the office. They are, we used to talk about how we want to bring people back for moments that matter. The idea is, if you're going to kind of drag everybody in, you can't have them sitting there on their laptops on Zoom calls. But now it's less moments that matter. This is how work is done. We want to be able to quickly do that old thing where you can kind of grab someone and say, hey, can we just kind of come in and debrief on that meeting? I know we just finished the meeting in the conference room, but now we need to really talk about what really happened in the conference room, and kind of grabbing people in the hallway. And I think what's happening is there was that moment in Zoom when we were all virtual where you felt that everyone had a level playing field because we were all in the Hollywood Square boxes. And then it kind of went to, all right, some folks are virtual, some folks are in the room. That call will end. The people who were virtual will feel like, wow, I dialed in. I was at that meeting. But then the people that were there could kind of have that side hallway conversation going back to their desk. And now what I'm seeing more is it's like Hamilton, you want to be in the room where it happens. Like it's really happening in the room. And if you're not there, you're at a little bit of a disadvantage. And if we had spoken, Rachel, 12 months ago, I wouldn't have been talking about that as much. But I think that with this new administration that is in, it's also set the tone. And there's always that ripple effect into the private sector. But I think that what we've seen definitely since January is more of an urge to be in the office. So what that means is for many of our clients, they have employees that are in multiple states because people, worked at the office in Pennsylvania, but then during the pandemic, they decided to move to the Catskills in upstate New York. But now they have that treasured employee in Catskill, in upstate New York, and they have to kind of drag them back to Pennsylvania or say, we're sorry, but this job now sits in Pennsylvania. And I think that organizations for a while were comfortable having, new tax laws and understandings of all the things and vary per state. And now I'm seeing less and less of a interest in that. So that's another kind of big trend I'm seeing from kind of the quick coffee shop observations to the reality. And some of our clients have gone as far as to say, for you to have a strong career path here, you are expected to be in. So there's a lot of change happening real time. That's kind of another big thing. And then the last thing that is really on people's minds is the whole shift around DEI. So I know that you and I, growing up at Amex, the way that we operate and the way that we work is, inclusion is always woven in to the work that we do. It was in the company goals. It kind of cascaded down, and it's kind of how I approach things. I know that you do too. And what we're seeing is that since the new administration has made various announcements and changes, that even, private sector companies are really impacted. So companies have done everything from closing down initiatives. So picture, a Big Four consulting firm that had, the female partner track initiative, just closing that program down. Or the program that was for high potential women has been rebranded to now be open to anyone high potential. And also rebranding of the way that things are discussed. So what I'm hearing is that every organization, every HR leader wants to very much have the same initiatives, but they need to make sure that there are no metrics associated with what success looks like, and they need to rethink the word. So I'm seeing departments now be called things like belonging or trust or transparency. And I don't know a lot of organizations who have done the following. I'm waiting. If you know of any, please let me know. But I would love an organization to get up and just say, we are rebranding things because we want to stay sustainable as an organization. And we want to be very agile and kind of in the moment of how things are discussed now. The work is the same. I think a lot of leaders that I've just kind of read about are kind of saying, as you know, we've never focused on inclusion from traditionally marginalized and groups as a metric. We've always focused on merit. And people in the town hall are like, that's something I've never heard you talking about merit as like the currency in which things are traded. It's assumed that it's merit, but we also knew that we had initiatives to make sure that folks who traditionally didn't have a seat at the table had the path to get there. And we were really intentional about it. And I think that employees are adults and they have long-term memories, and everyone remembers all the work that's been done since the murder of George Floyd and the overdue racial reckoning in our country. And so many employees were made to go to mandatory training and all these things. And now those things have wound down, and employers, I think, need to speak more honestly about why things are getting rebranded. And I think we want to stay sustainable and be relevant as an organization. This is kind of what we need to do. And the work is still the same and the guts are still the same. But I think that more of that straight talk is helpful. And I also think that trust feels like a luxury item these days. So to kind of build those moments of trust in small settings with employees and just speak really plainly, I think is really key, because employees know that it used to be called DEI, and like their water bottle that they had said that, and now they've decided to call it employee engagement. So I think we are all working, living, and parenting in really unprecedented, interesting times. And what I also see is that HR leaders who are at the helm and trying to think about the impact on all these changes to employees are also having a little bit of burnout. And I know you've done a lot of discussion about that in your multi-part series. And I think that that's an important thing. Self-care for HR is always top of mind for us. So, yeah.
Wow. It's a lot. I think, I came into this conversation with a firm belief that things are complicated and messy and people are a little exhausted, but I think you just put some really nice specificity to it. I'm wondering what advice you have, Jaime, for any just regular citizen in an organization who's listening to you and thinking like, oh my gosh, yes, I am feeling all of that. I am feeling like suddenly we're not allowed to talk about diversity and we're pretending it never happened. And also I have to be in the office 4 days and that's actually gotten really challenging with my life, or I actually feel like I'm a lot more productive when I have a couple of days from home. And all of this stuff is moving. And also the economy is uncertain. And so I'm not super engaged, but also I'm not ready to leave my job because, I don't have that confidence right now.
Of course.
How are you just offering people advice just around how to navigate this season that we're in, how to keep your head above water, how to build community? I mean, whatever feels meaningful. What are you advising the people around you to you for counsel?
Yeah. So I do not have all the answers, but these are the things that I'm personally trying and telling all of our clients to try. So I know this sounds crazy, perhaps, but whatever you've done for self-care, double it. So I have one of these ridiculously large things. I try to drink 2 of these every day. I mean, isn't it funny? Like, remember when you would go camping for a whole day and like your parent would have a canteen for the whole family that was like this big, right? So if I know I'm going to have an intense day, I try to drink 3. I tend to walk a mile or so every day. If I know of a crazy intense day of meetings, I'll throw an extra mile. I eat a lot of kale. Really, like I try to get 8 hours of sleep. So kind of things that I've always thought were kind of nice to have, I always say are need to have, because I think that our nervous system, as sophisticated as we are, we have these devices in our hand that we can, do 1,000 things with. The human nervous system is built in a certain way where it's, I think, only capable of processing a certain amount of stress and change at a given time. And the more fuel we kind of put in the tank, good, nutritious fuel, I think the more we can ask our nervous system to kind of do more. And fuel could include things like taking a break from difficult news. There's a newsletter someone shared with me called Nice News, where you can kind of have a quick update on what's going on in the world, but it is a little bit over-indexing on sharing good news, or making sure that you take social media breaks, or make sure that you surround yourself with people that are optimistic, not unrealistic, but optimistic, and find joy in small things like, I don't know, you and I both live in homes that have clean water when we open our tap. I don't know. I know there are occasional moments where there is intense pollution. But when we had, various fires in Canada, you and I live in the New York area, when we had those fires in Canada, summer of 23. And if you remember, the sky was just really dark and there was such toxic air. Do you remember that?
I do.
We've been so busy, right? So I had a call with an old friend and colleague that morning who, when that all was going down, whose family is from India. And we were talking, she said, you know what? She said, it smells like my grandmother's house. Whenever I go back and I see our relatives in India, this is just kind of what the air smells like. And living in the New York area, we have not experienced that a lot. But on days when I'm overwhelmed, I think, you know what? At the moment, I can fill up 3 of these. I got the tap water from the fridge. That's kind of working. I've got the clear. It sounds so basic, but just trying to get back to kind of some of those fundamentals, because there is a lot we don't have control over right now. So, and then I do a lot of reading. Another thing, and I always say to our leaders, if you can take a break on the podcast all about leadership, just give your brain a break and just read with, fun for fun's sake. So yeah, those are just some quick things. I mean, it is nothing off the charts, but, things that we haven't all discussed or thought about, but I think it's about, and one quick thing, I do leadership team meetings every Monday with my team, and we always start with a 1-minute mindful meditation, because I know I'm guaranteed to meditate at least on Mondays. You know what I mean? Like
1 minute, yeah.
I think these little, it's like literally a standing thing on the agenda, but these little things that just kind of help nourish our nervous system to do all the hard things that are in front of us with being, citizens of the world and running companies. Yeah.
Jaime, thank you. We covered a lot of ground in a pretty short amount of time, but I always appreciate your observations and your input. And so thank you so much for sharing all of this with us today.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I could talk to you forever, and I appreciate the chance to check in. Thank you.
Thanks, Jaime. Take care.
Bye.